Well, good day, everybody. It's our noon prayer watch here, Central Time. This is Pastor Jay Carscadden, Christian Center of Shreveport. So glad you have joined us again for another live stream at noon our time, a ministry that the Lord has birthed in us over 2 years ago. Matter of fact, it was about this time in July, the Lord told us to go to Mount Rushmore in South Dakota and birth this ministry called Pipeline Intercession for the President. I'd had a dream, and in the dream, the Lord spoke to me about how to pray for the nation, pray for the president, the office of president. And then he showed me through a person in the dream, it was like a pipeline. And if you know anything like a pipeline, an oil and gas pipeline that goes across the country, fuel goes through there, or oil, gas, whatever, and it goes all across the country. And that was the type and shadow the Lord gave me as we release this sound and go all the way across the land. And the fact that many of you are listening from all over the country, from coast to coast, north to south, it became that. And so you're a big part of that. It wouldn't be a ministry had you guys not joined with us. Some of you have been with us for 2 years. Thank you so much. Some of you are new listeners. If you're not a member of the Pipeline Intercession Group, please go to our Facebook page. Just type in Facebook, Pipeline Intercession for the President. You'll see it. And then fill out the app there and join, and you can follow us there. It's very important that we are on the wall. The Lord gave me a word and said, pray at noon for the midnight crisis that America's in. So that kind of birthed it, and we've been going after it and do different things each and every day, try to give you updates prophetically where we are as a nation, how to pray, how to stand, give you prayer initiatives as well as declarations that the Lord's given us to declare concerning our nation and concerning your engagement in each state that you live, and some of you even from other countries that join us because you love America and you're praying for our nation in this hour. So it's a very important ministry, I believe. And this is our month of sabbatical, we call it. In July, we shut down everything except our Sunday services. Kind of give the people a rest, but also our staff. And a lot of people take holiday vacations during this month anyway. But we didn't feel led to stop the noon live streams because this is a big important ministry, I think, for the nation. And can't take a break when we're in the midst of the great war and the great battle that we're in right now. So what we came up with was an idea that we'd let you join with us in prayer and let our leaders, each one of them, come on each day and share their portion, what they're burning for. That's what the Lord told me to ask them. I told them just to speak to what they're burning for America, then give some prayer initiatives as well as have declarations praying for you and for the nation as a team. So each and every day, you're going to see a different leader, and hopefully we'll fill up the whole month this way. So don't go away. Stay with us each day. The sessions won't be as long. Usually we go an hour, but these will be a lot shorter. But we didn't want to just leave you without any content, any directives during this hour. So we thought we'd go this path, at least for this month. And we'll cover the entire month, and then we'll move into August. As you know, the Lord spoke to me also prophetically and said how we respond in July will affect what happens in August. The enemy has some great things planned, evil things, I should say, for August, but the Lord has some great plans in store, some great outpourings as well. So we can expect the enemy to do what he's doing, but we can also expect the Lord to do what he always does, and that's become victorious over every plan of the enemy. So join with us. Don't quit praying. Stay on the wall. Keep watching our Pipeline Facebook page. We put what we call significant articles up. We try to vet them. We try to make sure that they're truthful, no fake news, and then they're helpful for you to stay in the loop of what God is saying, also to stay on the wall for important issues that are affecting us as Americans and our nation as a whole. So we'll keep doing that as well. Make yourself available to all our resources on our Facebook pages, YouTube pages, or on Rumble. And then, of course, like I said, if we do a podcast, I do each and every day, just really relevant current events. The Lord speaking to me prophetically, dreams, visions, encounters. We put that up. And then also my son Zachary does a morning news briefing and prayer initiative. And that is 8:30 Central Time each and every day. Or you can just listen to it as a podcast anytime you want. Just Pipeline Intercession for the President on your favorite podcast app. And you can listen to that each day. It's a half-hour briefing. And the most relevant, up-to-date news issues that are affecting our nation, and then kind of let you filter through our discernment what God shows us, what's the important part, where the truths are in these articles, and then how to respond biblically to what is happening. So that's what's going to happen this month. So thank you for partnering with us. Like I said, many of you have sown to this ministry, the Pipeline Ministry, as well as the church through these years, and we thank you for that from the bottom of our heart. You can continue to do that on our website, ChristianCenterShreveport.com. There's a give button there, and you can do that on our app as well. Also, one last thing before I let you go, remind you our School of Ministry, Olive School of Ministry, a practical school of ministry, different than I hope others are, not just to be different, but we teach them the biblical foundations. We equip them in the prophetic, intercession, worship, theology, relevant theology, New and Old Testament. But then we give them the practical. We let them do the practical work of ministry so that by the time they're finished with our school, they can go to any other ministry or even ours, and they're immediately plugged in. And really, the leadership of the next ministry will not have to do hardly any training because they will have worked in ministry for the entire year. And then, of course, we do a mission trip at the end. This year we did Colombia. We went there and ministered. So if you're interested in that or you know somebody is, go to our website, click the olive icon or that on our app, and learn about that. We're taking applications for the fall semester, but we need to know pretty soon, days ahead. So thank you for partnering with us. And right now, here's one of my leaders. They're going to share their portion, and you just join with them in their prayer initiative and their declarations as they pray for America. God bless.
All right. Well, welcome everyone today on this Wednesday here in July the 13th. And we just want to thank you all for joining in with us on today's noon prayer. Today we have special guest children's pastor Jay Carscadden at Christian Center Shreveport, none other than yours truly's uncle. And today we want to build off of the conversation and talking point, prayer points Ray Sattler had yesterday of building off of the foundation of families and society. But today we want to specifically look at the value of children, of how God sees and how the world views children, and some of the aspects of how the world views and then how God views. So I want to open it up with that, and then let Jay talk about some things. And he has an essay here that really breaks down the difference, and then we have some statistics to look at to see how the world views it, and then look at some scripture about how God views it, and then look at what children themselves are saying in this time in society where they're being told what to do, what to believe. And I think it'll be interesting for us to realize and hear from the child's perspective, is because we're hearing from, the news media, the administration, this person, that person, but what about people asking children of public school age, middle school, elementary school children? And Jay has some examples of some questions that kids are asking, and then we'll finally close out with how does God view children himself? So with that, I'll turn it over to you, and let's read the essay.
All right. Well, hey, I'm Jay, and I'm a public educator. I've been educating children for almost 25 years. I've done competitive coaching, mentor, and children's pastor. So I see kids every day. I see kids all the time, and I'm relatable to them. And so they ask me a whole lot of questions about different things. So I had research with someone about their worth and why they did not feel worthy. And so after praying and talking to my wife a couple of things, we decided this would be a great topic to talk about. And because if the kids don't know what they're worth, then society is going to tell them what they're worth, and they're going to tend to believe whoever tells them first. So we'll just get into it. Okay, so self-worth. In today's society, there is a big push to tell the younger generation itself that their self-worth can be better, bigger, stronger, smarter, healthier, prettier, thinner, better looking. And you can be more likable and more popular and have more likes, followers, and subscribers if you just try a little bit harder. Now, society also says that be who you were born to be. Don't hide your true feelings. But it's okay to come out as someone else other than your gender or sexual preference or orientation, or you can be an animal, or you can identify as anything that you want because that's what you feel. But otherwise, keep your religion and your Jesus talk to yourself, because we don't want to hear it. So they want to hear all this other stuff, but they don't want to hear the other side of it. Now, if you want to save the planet or go green, or you want free healthcare and open borders, then we welcome your protests. However, don't try to save my life through Christ or tell me that there's a better way for my life to be happy, to be joyful as it is, because there are plenty other examples that if you watch the news today, you can tell that they don't want to hear our side of the story, and they don't want to hear what the Bible has to say about their life. So the behavior today in society has gone from encouraging people to belittling your worth and your self-belief, that you're always questioning why I'm doing this, or is this true, or should I be doing this? And social media has absolutely made it clear that you're only worth the love, the money, and the time if you have the quote, the likes and a large number of followers. And that belief has ruined many kids and young adults' self-worth, so much to the point that it's caused depression and suicide. And so it's made this generation think that if I don't have so many quote followers, then nobody loves me. And and if they get criticized, they don't like their videos, or they say something about their clothes or the way that they look, then they say that they hate you. They hate me. Oh my gosh, that nobody loves me. And then that in turn can cause kids to go into depression, self-hurt, and then then they think nobody loves them, and they're all hated. So then they listen to nobody. So through all this, their self-worth begins to degrade until they act out or do something completely outrageous or dangerous just to get someone's attention. Now, really, they just want to feel loved. That's all a kid wants to feel, is loved. They want to feel true love. So now many of our young folks turn to things like TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and even OnlyFans now to achieve their self-worth, to get subscribers, to get followers, and to make money. To this to them equates love and worth. The more they make, the more content they put out, the more people that follow, the more people that pay, the more they're loved. And we all know that's false. That's a false sense of security that society has placed upon this younger generation, because they no longer enforce the traditional marriage and traditional you go to school, you get hard work, you make a job, you do a job, you make money. That's no longer in the system. And now there's so many other alternative ways to do this. So just as they do this so much that they begin to lose their sense of purpose in life, they forgot what they were created to do. Well, and then by doing so, this now fake personality becomes their true personality. And they have to live this lie every day. Because if they don't, and they feel like, oh, you're fake, then they lose their subscribers, they lose their money, they lose their fans. And so now they have to live something that's fake and believe that it's true. Now, the sad thing is that when true love does come around, they either don't recognize it, they push it away, or they ruin it because they don't feel worthy of having it. Or they think it's a trick to either try to steal their money, their content, their ideas, their personality, their persona. So that is where God says you're wrong. To him, you're worth it all. Absolutely. So today, I want to talk about the differences between what the government and society says, what you're worth in value, versus what God says you're worth to him. So, and we've got some comparisons now. So, some government points that I got off the USDA sites that says government says you are worth $2,000 in tax credit for 17 years. So each child is worth $34,000 to a family. The USDA says it will cost a family $233,000 plus to raise a child to adulthood. And we're not talking extended adulthood, like drop out of college, stay at home. We're just talking to 18, 19 years old when they can leave and go on their own. And that's about $13,000 a year. So college says you're worth about $60,000 to an average education. And now if you want to extend your college education and go and get a master's or get a doctorate or anything like that, then you're talking triple that, 200,000 almost. And in the state of California and the state of Kentucky and a couple other ones say that each child is only worth about $300 to $400 a month in welfare. And that's about $43,000 to $5,000 a year in welfare. So, society has placed a monetary value on you. And as long as we've got the taxes and all the income coming in, well, then you're worth that. But in a downturn, you're going to be worth less than that because that's what the government says. However, this is what God says you're worth. God says that children are a blessing, not a curse, but a blessing. And the kingdom of heaven belongs to these children such as these. And he sacrificed his son so that you could be in heaven with him. And it says children are a heritage from the Lord. Psalms 127 verses 3 to 5 says children are a heritage from the Lord. They are a reward. They are a blessing. They are to be praised and they are to be honored. So there's a couple other verses in here that talk about the different things that kids are, and that how we should love the orphans and the widows, and that grandkids in Proverbs says that they are the crowns of the aged. Their glory belongs to their fathers. So that means that we should be proud and we should brag about our children and our grandchildren because we're so proud of them. And we shouldn't be putting them down. We shouldn't be telling them that they can't do anything. So children are a gift from God. And you know that. And, it also talks about how blessed is the man who has a quiver full of them. And I used to think that I needed more kids. I mean, I have 5 of my own plus 3 grandkids. And but I feel like I have hundreds of them because of all the coaching that I've done and all the kids that I've taught at school. And, and I see them out in public. And, hey, coach, you remember when you talked about this? Hey, coach, hey, and they tell me how their life's going. And they tell me that a lot of times that they felt more worthy in my class than they did in some other classes because I would always talk to them and ask them how they were doing. And I really got to know them and I encouraged them to do the things that they could do and try to be real with them most of the time instead of, hey, you want to be a unicorn? Fine, go ahead and be a unicorn. No. If you want to be an athlete, a pro athlete, then you were going to have to do a lot of work. You were going to have to do a lot of school work. You're going to have to do a lot of training. You're going to have to dedicate your life to be doing what it is that you feel like you need to do. And it's not going to be handed to you for free. In today's society, they think that everything should be given to them for free. It's just privilege. And it's all walks of life right now that think that they are privileged to have everything given to them, that they shouldn't have to earn it. And so we recently talked at camp about how you had to earn your place in heaven. Some people just think just because I'm a good person, I can get to heaven. That's not true. And, and that no good deed is going to go and say, oh yeah, that's good enough to get to heaven. We all know that that's not true, so you have to have a relationship. And with these kids today, you're going to have to build a relationship with them in order for them to understand what their true worth is. So now, recently, I was thinking after I had this conversation with this young lady, who was she listening to? Who was telling her what she was worth? And why was she believing it? So I did, in my research, I did some looking at marketing. And we all know today that the kids are marketed to like crazy. And so we have to watch what kids are looking at. Basically, you want to give them their freedom, but you don't want to give them too much freedom, because they cannot control what they do. Once they get down one thing, they'll get down a rabbit trail, and boom, they're gone. And so you have to have some kind of monitoring system on either their iPads or the phones or the YouTube or whatever. But here's what I found. Estimated spending on children and youth as of 2020 was anywhere between 12 billion and 17 billion per year globally on around 40,000 different commercials and advertisements. So that's a lot of money being spent towards the marketing of children. And that doesn't include movies. Movies is another 9 to 10 billion a year just for them. So now those same kids who see those commercials and advertisements can influence up to $500 billion a year in spending on purchases valued as a commodity. So if a youth or kid values what it is you're marketing, they will do whatever they can to get their mom and dad to buy that product. So if they want an action figure because of a movie they saw, well, you can't just get the one action figure. You're going to have to get the whole set, or you're going to have to get the whole team. So, like when the Avengers came out, it was a great marketing scheme. So instead of just promoting Thor or just promoting Iron Man or Captain America, hey, let's grab all these other guys, these B tier teams, the C tier, that don't really gain a whole lot. We'll put them all together. We'll make a team. And now, in order for the kids to play right, now you got to have the whole team. You can't just have one person, because now you can, in your mind, you've got to have the whole team. So that means that's 5, 6, 7, 8 more action figures you've got to buy, and then you got to buy the play set. So they know what they're doing when they put things together like that. And I had a conversation with a friend of mine that talked to some Disney people, and Mickey loves the color green, and so they said, why are all these princess movies taking over the world, basically? And that's because girls buy things, lots of things. You can't just have a dress. You got to have a crown. You can't have the heels. You got to have the jewelry. You got to have the wand. You got to have whatever else. Boys, a shield, a sword, a car, not as much. But the girls, you can accessorize and do a whole lot more. And so that's why you'll see a lot more things advertised to girls now, because they realize that is now an open market, because people want to spoil their princesses. They want to get them everything that they can. And, so this advertising now has become the norm for all companies, whether you are a kids company or whether or not you are just a company trying to make money. You're going to figure out a way to advertise to the kids, because according to The Guardian, a web news webpage, advertising is tricky and it's ultimately harmful for children. It targets their emotions and not their intellect. And we all know that a kid is going to make dumb decisions. I think there are 40-year-olds that still make dumb decisions, and just because of emotion. And you can see it today on the news where these people are protesting, and they ask them these questions. Well, why this? Oh, I don't know. It's just because this is the way I feel. Well, you can't base your buying habits on the way you feel, but kids do. If it feels cool, the kids are going to do it. So by targeting the children, it targets their emotions, and it trains the children to choose a product based on who's on the cover and not what's in the package. And the value inside that package basically is worthless if what's on the cover is not good enough. So that is why advertisements had to change over the years. I remember growing up and just seeing, some bright colors on some gum, but now, we've got to have this whole animatronic thing, and to try to tell me that this gum's better than the other gum, or this cereal is better than the other cereal because now I've got a little mini video that I've got to watch about the captain or the bunny or some parrot, and they're going on a mission, you know? And so it's no longer what's inside the package. Well, that is translated now to society and to young adults and teenagers that say that they must change all this in order for you to like what's in here. And that is where the problem exists today. And so, you know, Zach, that's what we're dealing with kids. And so I've got some questions here that I mean, some quotes that I like to that my kids over the years have kind of talked to me about. So one day we were doing an exercise video and a commercial came on YouTube, and so this kindergartner stopped and as serious as can be and said, "Coach, look at that man trying to be a lady. Isn't that silly?" And I thought, that is silly, because that's not who he is. You know, it was some commercial for some show, but he knew it was a guy pretending to be a girl. And he just thought that was the silliest thing that he'd ever seen, because why would he be doing that? You know? And so then I had a young girl. I can't remember if she was first or second grade, but she came up to me and she was serious, and she said, "Hey, Coach, why do some boys want to be girls? Why do they want to compete in girls' sports rather than their own sports? Don't they know that they were born to be a boy and they play with boys and not try to beat up on the girls?" And that, from a young kid's perspective, just really, really hurt me, that they would just, that they know that it's not right, regardless of what rights are being established in college athletics and athletics. It's just wrong for a male to compete in a female's sports category, because they know genetically they're stronger and faster. And now these girls who have worked years and years and years to try to achieve greatness is now being beat by a guy pretending to be a girl, or who has transformed, chemically to be a girl. So, and kids are seeing that, and they're now doubting reality, so much so that they're so confused about who they're supposed to be, because a lot of people say that, we will tolerate you wanting to be a different person, and we will encourage you to go seek medical treatment for this or for that. But when it comes to the rights of unborn children, we have a whole different story. You know, it's an inconvenience for these kids to be born, or, and some people say that they're not even real. They're not even they're not even human, excuse me, until they're born, or until they're 18 years old, whatever the case may be. I've heard so many different, and the kids who are alive now don't understand why you would want you to get rid of somebody that could potentially be their friend, a sibling, a cousin, all because you don't want to have that inconvenience in your life. And it's really, from these kids' point of view, probably the most hurtful, sad thing that I've ever heard from a kid was a middle school kid who had a disease, and so she sought treatment all the time, and so she was always going to places like Houston and St. Jude's and all these places, and so her family was constantly going and spending weekends at the hospital, and then she was saying that she couldn't do this because she didn't have any money, because she had to go get treatment and this and that. And so one day, we were at an FCA meeting, and she asked me, she said, "Coach, let me ask you something." She goes, I think you would know this. And I'm like, I hope I do. She said, "Why do some companies and people would offer to pay for a person to change their gender, but not treat a kid for cancer or disease or give them medicine that would save their life?" And I had no answer for them. I truly did not have an answer as to why that would happen, other than the priority is that as long as you play the government game of being who they say you should be, then you're going to be okay. But if you choose to not be a government's puppet or a crony, whatever you want to call it, well, then you're going to get denied basic rights and basic privileges. And so that is a couple of things that these kids are talking about. And most recently, I had a couple of fourth and fifth graders who we were talking about some of the protests that have been going on, and with everything from the border issue to Roe versus Wade, and we try not to talk about too much of it. I don't ever engage in it unless they ask me a question and I can give them an honest answer. But and then I tell them to go home and talk to their parents about it, because I don't want them to have just my opinion based on what their parents say. And I'm like, I never want to override what their parents say. So I'll always say, you need to go back and talk to your parents about this if this is really concerning you. But so one kid asked me, "Coach," he said, "why am I told to be tolerant of other people's preferences, sexual preferences, religious preferences, preferences on how they should save the planet and how they eat, whether or not to be a vegan, vegetarian, or what they call a meatitarian," and but they're being punished and bullied for believing in Jesus and not being able to say anything about him. And that truly just hit me hard. I'm like, that is where we're at in society, is that, TV says you've got to be tolerant, diversity. You have to include everybody. And 1 month out of the year, you can have as much pride as you want. But we only have one day that's a national day of prayer. Now if we did the same thing and we tried to shove Jesus down these people's throats for a whole month, they would hate us. I mean, they would just say, "Get that out of my face. I cannot believe that you've done that." But yet we're supposed to tolerate what they're doing and how they're shoving it in. And they're telling us that we're wrong if we don't accept them, and then we're wrong if we don't, let them have their way. But that's not what the Bible says about it. So, it's we're having a hard time with society. And if you don't talk to your kids about truth and about the way things are supposed to be, then society's going to get a hold of them, put their claws into them, and they're going to distort the truth. And it's going to be a long time before you get them back. And so I've got kids all the time debating me on what's true and what's not. And so, I was watching a YouTube video on a guy who was at a college campus, and he was talking about truth. And this, weirded out guy came up and yelled at him and said, truth is whatever I want to be. It's my truth. And you can't take that away from me. And we're like, you're so distorted in your version of truth that you don't even know what truth is. And the Bible has a lot of things to say about truth. I mean, we could probably go here for a couple hours on what truth is. But so that's kind of where I'm at. And that's kind of where I've been with the kids. And you talk about how can we tell our kids what truth is? And how can we get them to believe that it's an unwritten rule that, truth is whatever you make it to be? And so, um, you know, other than that, I've got some practical things that you could talk to your kids about on how to encourage their worth.
That's good. That's good to know. Okay, and then these studies, I think it's interesting to see these studies because of, like you said, of how, like, once they're out of the womb, the government wants to grasp them and get a hold of them. And
Mm-hmm.
what Ray was talking about yesterday about how even when you look at it is the fathers are being pushed out of society, the families are being pushed out, and yet it's this government is the god type thing. But the reality is these kids have value themselves.
Right. And so, yeah, and here's what some other kids have kind of asked me about. They're like, Coach, how can it be okay for some 10-year-old to be given ginger changing drugs, but 18-year-olds are not allowed to own their own gun? And there's other things like that, or you have to be 16 to drive a car, or you've got to be 18 to vote. But yet a 10-year-old can make up his mind about what gender he wants to be, or if he wants to be a unicorn, or if he wants to, live a different life. That stand is how that can be so wishy-washy, and saying it's yes you can, and yes we give you decision power here, but no, here you have to do what we tell you to do.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. All right, now some of these practicals you talked about. I know we talked about this a little bit before, of kind of asking the question of how does God view children, and I think these would be good for people to keep in mind when discussing this with parents with children. So why
Yeah.
don't you lay some of these out to give us some practicals to walk out with today?
Okay. Well, number one, knowing your self-worth in God is foundational in having your identity in Christ. Okay. And knowing that helps you walk in your daily life, right? It helps you walk in your destiny that God has created for you, because he created you for a purpose, right? And so your worth is valuable to him. It's constant. It is unchanging. It's the same no matter what you do. You can make a mistake, and God's still going to value you as a precious life no matter what. So, and here's some things parents can do. You need to go through the commands that the Lord has given, with your kids, such as love one another. Okay, honor your mother and your father. Don't steal. Don't kill. Don't commit adultery. Those are the basic commands that the Lord says in order to have a great life. This is what you need to do, and this is just to make society a better place by doing just these basic things. I mean, every society covers these basic commands. Otherwise, you have chaos, and as you can see, that rioting and people coming across the border and not being checked, and causing issues, and it's becoming chaotic. So, now following Christ is worth it all. Um, he lived and he died for you, and even if you don't love him, Matthew 16:25 says he still did it for you. And so today, kids don't understand that you can be loved no matter what. That you think that you have to do something in order to be loved. And so that's another thing that parents can encourage their kids, is that they love them. Yes, you can make mistakes and still be loved, but you need to grow from your mistakes, learn from your mistakes, and not repeat the same mistakes. Because Christ wants us to grow in our relationship with him, and by doing so, we're learning from our mistakes. I mean, you don't go into a car dealership, buy a car, and then 6 months later, quit paying your bill. They're going to come get it, and then you go back 6 months later and you buy a car and you do the same thing. You pay your bill for a couple months, and then they come and take your car. Eventually, they're going to say you can't buy another car because you haven't changed. And you just
Usually,
can't do it.
they limit you.
Yeah, and so you have to learn how to grow. So I guess um, as the way it's put is that, society's always trying to fix you. We all know that. Here's what some of the things that I was looking at that said, for you to be happy, here's what you need. This is what society says you need to be happy. You need to have better clothes. You need to have a nicer car. You need to have a better job. You need to get a bigger house. You need to have a pretty face. You need to be blemish free. So invest in all the acne medicine that you can, right? Makeup and Botox. That's what it says you need to, in order for you to be happy, you got to have a pretty face. You need a better mate. You can leave the one that you got to find somebody better. You need a healthier body. You need better food. You need organic food. You need food that's not tainted. However, if somebody else eats the food, society says that you need to make fun of them for doing that, for their choice of food, that you need to banish all the bad food in the world rather than just let them choose. You need to have more adventure in your life. You need to try more risk, and that's not too bad as long as it's in I guess in a safe way, that you're not just risking your life for something just to have a waking moment, an aha moment kind of thing. They say that you need more likes, more followers, and that and if so, then we're willing to put a money value on your popularity. So if you have 10,000 followers, well, guess what? We're going to start paying you some money. If people start watching your videos for longer than 30 seconds, we're going to pay you, so-and-so for every, video that's been watched. We're going to pay you a certain amount. But only if you partake in their games. If you say something that's too controversial, they'll cut you off, or they'll ban you, or they'll, Twitter will ban you and say, hi, no, that's too mean. Even though that there's other things that are meaner than that, but they're still playing their game. And so they're allowed to go on. Kids don't know their self-worth today. And either we have to tell them what their self-worth is in Christ and from a parent's point of view, or society's going to tell them what they're worth. And, Jesus knew his self-worth because he knew his true identity as the Son of God. We need to know that we are of God and that we are created with a purpose and a destiny. And you need to have a relationship with Christ in order to know your destiny and know your purpose in life. And so we just got done with kids camp, and our first lesson was God created us for a purpose. Everything is created for a purpose. And if it doesn't have a purpose, it's useless. And you do not want to be useless. But society will say that you are useless unless you fulfill their purpose. And that's where the kids are starting to believe things like that. So, and it didn't matter what others thought of Jesus. He told them that. It doesn't matter what they think of me, because I don't care about their opinions. All I care about is the Father's opinion of me. Am I doing a good job for my Father? Am I doing what he has called me to do? Am I fulfilling the purpose that he created within me when I was born, when I was created? So the government needs you to run their business. However, they do not value you like God does. And that is just so boggling to me that, that they can do that. And so, so I've had kids that say, hey, Pastor Jay, hey, Coach, when people yell at me because I don't believe the way they believe, what kind of things can I say to them that won't, start a fight and won't get me in trouble? Well, there's some scriptures they can memorize about self-worth. So, Jeremiah 29:11, it's probably the most used verse about how to know that you were created for a purpose, that he formed you even before you were born. that he knew of you in your mother's womb, and that he created you for a purpose, and you have a destiny and a hope. And so that encompasses everything that a kid needs to know. And if you encourage them enough and remind them that they have all these things that were predestined for them, that they'll get through a lot of things. Psalms 127, 3-5, is another great verse. And hold on just a second, I'll find it. And so talk to your kids about their worth. That's the first thing you need to do. You need to tell them how worthy they are, and not based on what society tells them to. So here we go, 127:3. Okay. And this is talking about the blessings. Sons are indeed a heritage from the Lord. They're an offspring of reward. Like arrows in the hand of a warrior are the sons born in one's youth. Happy is the man who has filled his quiver with them, and they will never be put to shame when they speak with their enemies at the city gate. So America was based on, they say that the sons of warriors have created this nation. Our nation was created by our forefathers, who were given permission by their fathers to forge a new land. And so their parents were proud of them for moving on and doing the things that they did. And then they, in turn, trained their sons to defend their land after we got the independence. And they said, you must defend it with everything that you have, because that's what God says to do. You have something that God has given you, and you defend it with all of your life. And if you sacrifice it, then, that's it. But you have to decide, what is your life worth? And our forefathers thought that their lives were worth a free country, free religion, freedom from all the tyranny over there, and that we could worship and love God the way that we wanted to, the way that we felt needed to be done. And so, but now today, because the lack of generations that have gone back to church, or they quote have church hurt, there are kids today who have never set foot in a church, more or less set foot in a children's church ministry at all. And they are so confused when they talk about all these things, the stories of Noah and Moses and David and Goliath, Gideon, Ruth and Samson, and they have no clue what they're talking about unless they've seen a movie, an animated movie or some movie that somebody else has shown them, and they have no clue. One of my daughter's friends was talking, and they were talking about a story in the Bible, and the girl had said, I've never been to church, I don't know who you're talking about. And and my daughter got really, really emotional about it, and she was like, oh my gosh, this is what's going to happen to my kid if I don't change my life and put my kid back in church. And so that, to me, says a lot of things about society today, is that we're all gung-ho about save the planet, and go green, but we're not all gung-ho about saving our children, and not everybody's like that. I mean, some churches are doing a fantastic job, with VBS and everything. I've seen now more of an insight about how, kids are being, targeted for, VBS and getting them in, and this may be a little silly, but when I asked the Lord the other day, Lord, what do you want me to talk about on this, this episode? And I said, I really need some guidance, because there's so many things I could talk about. And this commercial came on, and he said, it's as simple as this. He said, it was a candy commercial, and we've all heard it before. Almond Joy's got nuts, Mounds don't. They don't mix the two candy bars. And I thought, They said people need to know who they are. They're either man or they're woman. They can't be both. And kids need to know that a man can be a man without being punished for being a man. And a girl can be a girl without trying to feel like she's got to be the man of the family. And that's where we kind of lose everything. And we need to get back to, you know, not so much traditional thing, but what God intended life to be. And, you know, and that we can create life, man and woman. We can't create life, you know, the other way around, man and woman. You know, it's just not possible. And so if the kids know that they're loved and that, you know, they can be who they're supposed to be in Christ, then they're going to have a great life. And we can change society by changing, you know, knowing that our purpose is in God.